Hi there. This video will show you how to create a new customer trait from the bottom. So what you have to do firstly is to go to your customer list. You can either do that by just clicking customers or hover over customers and choose customer list. In here you have a new customer button in the top right corner. If we click that one, we will be allowed to type in a customer number. So you might already have a structure for deciding your customer number. That could be their CVR number or their telephone number. Do be aware that if you have a link up to, for example, economic as your ERP system, you're only allowed to have a maximum of 9 digits in your customer number. So here, just you and choose a name. We can decide which country this is for, which will help us going forward in the creation of the customer's address. And if they have a VAT number, we can type that in here as well. Again, will help us going forward in the creation of, for example, addresses on the customer. When this is ready, we can create the customer. So from here, we have a lot of blanks that we can start to fill out. If we start from the get-go, you have the base data set up here, where you can go in and update information on the customer, either by clicking the edit button or the master data button. I will come back to this in a few seconds. But first of all, in your overview here of the customer details, there's two important sections to fill out: the B2b buyer and the addresses. So addresses is kind of just going in here, press add address, and then title the address. So in cases, this is helpful in cases where you have more than one address on the customer. You might have an invoice address and a delivery address, or one invoice address and several delivery addresses. And you might, in cases, just have one address that is both the invoice address and the delivery address. In those cases, a suggestion to name it could be primary address. Name shop ATT Rasmus. Now you see our VAT number that we typed in before is already stated here. We can go in and put in an address. And the city, region if applicable, country is also filled in as a automation already, but can be changed if needed. And we can type in address and phone number that we would like to be associated with this address. This could especially get helpful if it's delivery addresses where there is a different person than who ordered it is going to receive it and is the contact person of the delivery. So in this case, where it's just as here, where it would be the same address for both invoice and delivery, I will not do anything more. I'll just press add address. But in cases where I would have a alternative delivery address, I'll go in and add in another address, maybe call it delivery address. It's still Rasmus shop, and it might still be Rasmus, who is the ATT for it, but instead of code name 10 and 222, another city, and 11. All right. Still Denmark, and maybe small things. Here I would then say that this address is the primary delivery address. So I will check mark here and say add address. This will automatically say that now that the first address I created will be set as the invoice address, and the delivery address is now our primary delivery address, which means that when an order is created, this will be automatically applied as the delivery address. The next thing out here is the B2b buyer. So this will be the email which you would like to invite your retailer to get access eventually to your B2B webshop in trade, and also be the email that you send, for example, your order confirmations to. So in here we can go in and say this, that it's Rasmus. Could be Rasmus at test.com. Fill out the position, the telephone number. I can decide if I want to send the activation email straight away, then I'll just keep the check mark, or I can uncheck it and say I will send the activation email to the retailer at a later point. This can especially be wise if you have not built up your web shop yet and you want to kind of finish your onboarding with trade before you send out activation links to your customers or retailers. But add customer user, then it's here, and as you can say, it does always says resend activation email, but this solely means at this point that we haven't sent out anything yet. If we go to the master data, which you will also need in the startup of a new customer, you can fill in fields here: primary contact email, contact phone, website. If you have created customer groups, you can add that as well here. You can add notes on the customer. The informations here are solely for you, and if you have an agent attached that has this customer, you can go in and see this. It's not visible for the customer. You might have created custom fields. If you want custom fields and don't have it, and you're unsure where to do it, you will find it under your settings and under the section called custom fields. Sales is quite an important part that you get to fill this out correctly from the beginning. So in lots of cases you might not want to have, you can decide if the customer should have access to the B2B shop right away. As with the activation email, if you're in your onboarding flow with trade, I would suggest that you have it as no, so there's no access before you're actually ready to open up for your web shop. You have some possibilities to fill out some different information here, so the VAT of the customer, handling fee if you are working with some sort of that in your invoicing process, you can fill that in. It's important to say, as you can see here, it's set to country default, and that's because under your settings again, you can under country settings define standardized information depending on the country for your customers. So that could, for example, for Danish brands having Danish customers, that they should always pay 25% in VAT. So instead of having to go in every time creating a new customer to write 25, you can just do it in your country settings, and then will be applied automatically. The same goes for handling fee. The same, as we come down, goes for currency. The same goes for payment terms and bank accounts eventually. But that could be a good part to take into consideration, and might start with that. Of course, it's always possible to override country setting. Just take it off and then put in whatever specific information you want for this customer. If we go down to, of course, you can do percentage on the customer. So if they should always get a discount for every order they made, you can put it in here. You don't have to do it on the order. You can add a minimum order amount, so they should buy for at least before you will accept their orders. If you go down to billing, this is quite an important field as well, especially if you're invoicing through trade. Then it's important that customers' billing email is set up in this field, otherwise they won't get an invoice. Again, payment terms, bank account can be put in if they not follow the standard that you did in your country settings, you can choose from whatever payment terms or bank accounts that you might have created in Trade. But again, our suggestion is that if you're able to do it by your country settings, that will ease a lot of the work when creating a new customer. You have the possibility to allow the customer to always get free shipping if you're doing your shipping amounts and invoicing in Trade as well. You can go in and set this up. But this is all things that you can kind of go through and fill out depending on your needs on the customer. When doing changes here, remember to save. I think that's what you need to know in the creation of a new customer. Yeah, if you have questions to this video or anything else on Trade, remember just to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist.